Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. It is right now. You are right here. My name is Manuel, and it is my pleasure to welcome you. Today is day 29 of the show, and I have to congratulate you for making the best decision of the day to spend some time with me. Let's get started. We are going to revisit already the disaster that is Mayor Zoran the Destroyer Mamdani. The other day, we were speaking in anticipation of the great storm that was about to hit New York, the blizzard, the snowfall that was going to bury the city, and it now has done so. So, how was the anticipation versus the reality? How was the prediction versus what has happened? What we said the other day was not particularly optimistic about how the mayor was going to proceed. We spoke of his call for volunteers to shovel the streets. And what ended up happening, what we have seen reported today, is that a historically low number of people showed up to volunteer to shovel snow. I cannot say I'm surprised. The reason, more than anything, is keep in mind who this mayor is and what he promised. He promised all gain, no pain. He asked for no sacrifice. He was offering a utopia, and somehow someone else would pay for it. But it turns out that someone else is, well, it's usually the person hearing that it's going to be someone else. In other words, the voters of New York City. And he was asking them to step up and do their fair share in clearing the streets. Most of them chose not to answer the call. As we discussed previously, and it bears repeating, none of this can be surprising because here you have a man who was born into privilege, raised in privilege, never held a real job in his life, and that is a truly literal statement. You examine his life and you see that he basically went from school to attempting a career in music that failed spectacularly, and then into politics. So not even a brief stopover in the real world, so to say. So here we have the man, or man-child perhaps would be the better term, who never actually had any responsibility over anything, who never had to lead men, never had to write checks for keeping a payroll going. He never experienced this. He never had that kind of responsibility on his shoulders. But he decided that he was going to become mayor of New York City, a city that is wealthier and more populous than so many countries on earth. What could one expect from this? What does one expect if you go from not even walking a mile a day to suddenly trying to run a marathon? What do you think is going to happen? Exactly. Exactly. And that's what we're seeing happening. The mayor came in and nothing has been going right for him. But there's a lesson in this because this election was ultimately a vibes election. And what I mean by that is that an inordinate number of the people who voted for him, it was pure feeling. And we have to accept this. Whether you like it or not, ultimately people vote on how they are feeling. We have commented before, we've discussed before the idea that as much as it is said, and as popular it is to say that the facts don't care about your feelings, it really should be the inverse of that. The feelings don't care about your facts. And as long as people are feeling it, whatever it might be, they're going to vote that way. Accept that, understand that, and then proceed from there, because that's what happened in New York City. And the proof of this is during the election itself and afterwards, when you would have man on the street segments on the news, they would speak to voters in New York City and ask them, well, the mayor has promised this, that, and the other. All these tremendously big promises. Do you think that he is going to be able to deliver on these promises? And time again, people who voted for Mamdani themselves would say they didn't actually think he could do it, but they voted for him anyway. It blows one's mind, doesn't it? But that's the reality that we live in. And we, unlike communists, unlike socialists, unlike the people running the nut house, we have to deal with reality. So that's why I'm stressing this to you. I'm not actually here to talk to you today about how terrible Zoran is, and he is terrible. I'm not here to actually talk to you today about how historic the snowfall is. It is historic. I'm not here to tell you about how the people of New York City are suffering the consequences of the election and will suffer. They are and they will. What I want to stress to you is the reality that when we go forward and campaign, when we go forward and try to persuade, when we go forward and try to win elections, we must accept it's not about having the facts on your side. It's not about having the better plan. It's important to have those things. I stress that you keep those things, that you pursue those things. But what matters is the presentation. How are you going to make people feel? Keep that in mind. Apply it. And it's not just in politics. Apply that in other aspects of your life. And then you can have the victories that you crave, the victories that are necessary for you, for your family, for the country. It is very easy to fall back on that wonderful statement that the facts don't care about your feelings. And it's true. But remember, it is just as true and more powerful that the feelings don't care about your facts. All right. That's enough for today. We'll continue tomorrow. And as always, be useful.